Welcome back, nerd boxers. I hope you took your notes in your handy-dandy kill book from part 1, as things are about to pick up, and I wouldn't want you to be lost. Now it's time to play Stu's clues and reveal how blood never lies. But first, you need to stab the like button, and then you need to subscribe or it won't end well for Dave and Jen. That bitch Sydney may have ruined things and the original plans for the sequel, but she wasn't going to forget what happened, like everyone tried to forget him. Sydney was going to need more than a little reminder than what was on the big screen or in print. Since they made money about his life, he was going to make his own movie, one that no one would forget.
These days, you gotta have a sequel.
Which is why they started to film the kills, beginning with Phil and Maureen outside the stab premiere.
Everybody dies but us. Everybody dies but us. We gonna carry on. And the sequel.
That pussy Jason got it all wrong in New York. It's not Richie's film that needs to be finished. It's Stu's. Sometimes good help is hard to find on the dark web. Just ask Billy's mother and Mickey, since they found each other there. Just like those that followed in Stu's shadow.
Hey, roomies. You didn't see that one coming, did you?
Yeah, because you died.
Kinda didn't, though. It was a good way to get off the suspect list. I got Stu Macher's mask. He was my favorite.
Even though Phil and Maureen died, Sydney didn't get it, but she was about to, as were the others. Mickey went with Sydney and Derek to the Omega Kappa Beta frat party to establish an alibi, while Mrs. Loomis got to play with Cece at the sorority house.
Who are you calling for?
What if I said you?
What if I said goodbye?
Why would you want to do that?
Why do you always answer a question with a question?
I'm inquisitive.
Yeah, and I'm impatient. Look, do you want to leave a message for someone?
Do you want to die tonight, Cece? Only she wasn't alone. A third accomplice had to distract Cece on the phone while another Ghostface snuck in through the back door. After Donna left, it was time for some fun, and Cece was the dumb blonde who ran up the stairs. She made it too easy, so she was stabbed and thrown off the balcony. The poor little thing bled all over the knife, which is why it had to be wiped clean of the blood. Something we only saw Stu do before. The party was down the street from the sorority house, so what better way to let Mickey know that the deed was done and watch Sydney's reaction than to see it for himself, which is why we see a blonde-haired Stu walk past Sydney in the background. With Gail looking to leech off of Stu again, it was time to have some fun with her, but that poser Randy answered her phone instead. He did his best to stall things, thinking that Dewey and Gail would find Ghostface. But when Randy wanted to start hurling insults about this Ghostface being a poser, it was time to reveal who was on the phone, to see if Mr. Smartypants was as smart as he thought he was.
Is that the best you can do? Because Billy and Stu were much more original.
Only Stu knew about Randy's feelings for Sydney.
You think Sid would go out with me?
No, I don't at all. No.
And that little reminder that in the end, he still will never end up with her, lit a fire under him. Why are you even here, Randy? You'll never be the leading man.
Fuck you!
No matter how hard you try, you'll never be the hero, and you'll never, ever get the girl.
Hey!
Randy got angry and responded with a personal attack on Billy and Stu, almost as if he knew that the ghost face on the phone was possibly Stu.
Oh yeah? Well, let's redirect the moment, Mr. I'm So Original. Huh? Where's your innovation, huh? Why copycat two high school loser-ass dickheads? Stu was a pussy-ass wet rag. And Billy Loomis, what the fuck? Jesus. What a rat-looking, homo-repressed mama's boy. Why not set your goals higher, huh? You want to be one of the big boys?
After all, wasn't it Randy who said that the past will come back to haunt you? And because Randy challenged Stu by calling him a pussy, we see that there was no response on the phone because it angered him, which is why he was recklessly killed in the van where Stu could have easily been caught. And just to make sure it was clear to everyone that Ghostface was back, Stu left a calling card behind, his mask, something his future disciples would do too. After Sydney and Haley were taken into protective custody, things go horribly wrong when Ghostface's plan comes to a sudden halt when he crashes into the K-rail. I say he, because Mickey is behind the mask here. Sydney and Haley manage to crawl out of the car, but that doesn't mean they escape their fate. Mickey kills Haley from behind and then chases Sydney back to the campus theater, where inside Mrs. Loomis and Stu are waiting. As Sydney walks towards the stage, Stu shines the stage spotlight from the back of the auditorium. Mrs. Loomis begins to manage the curtain and props from behind the stage. There would have been no time for either of them to have chased Sydney inside and then get into the position that they were. Mrs. Loomis would have had to run ahead of Sydney at some point, and Mickey would have had to have climbed a few flights of steps, so Stu already being there makes sense. We also saw that Sydney was slightly out of breath from running. So Mrs. Loomis and Stu distracted her long enough for Mickey to catch his breath and get into position behind Sydney for when Derek drops from the ceiling, without being heard or noticed, which happens pretty quickly after the light fades. Unfortunately, Mrs. Loomis did not stick to the script and she let her feelings get in the way.
Mickey was a good boy, but my God, that whole blame the movies motive. Did you buy that for 1 second? Poor boy was completely out of his mind.
And you're not.
No, I'm very sane. My motive isn't as 90s as Mickey's. Mine is just good old-fashioned revenge. You killed my son.
She got sloppy and allowed Cotton to go from slimeball to hero, ruining Stu's sequel. Cotton has become a thorn in Stu's side, and was going to have to be dealt with once and for all, which we will discuss next week, along with when Sydney figured out that Stu was back.
How do you know you're not hearing things? How do you know I'm not someone in your head? Somewhere you know.
Don't come here, Sydney!
Stewie!
Or do you?
You're dead.
The next episode is set to premiere next week, so set your notifications for it. If you want more screen content, check out Nerdbox's behind the scenes, theories, Easter egg videos, and more. Until part 3, Nerdboxers, sleep tight and be careful of who you trust.